I've been loving Big Box videos lately. Obviously, I've always loved them. Great dude, great content. But he has given me a very formal react to anything you want to. I love it when you do this. And I saw this video, Legendary Programmers. I've wanted to watch it since it appeared on my feed. And I figured, why not watch it with y'all and give Big Box some love? So please, if you're not already subbed to him, what the fuck are you doing? I don't care if you're subbed to me, sub to him. He makes actually good content. Let's see what he has to say here.
Programmers, developers, software engineers, most of whom, including yourself, are absolutely awful. But there are a handful of people, yes, only a handful, who didn't suffer from skill issues.
It's so sad he didn't sneak a trash dev pick in there. Trash could absolutely have been stuck into that.
Linus Torvalds, a Finnish man born in the Australian summer of 1969.
Nice.
Responsible for the tool you use to push your awful code, as well.
Fun fact, the Unix time starting point is actually Linus's birthday, if you didn't know that. That was a joke. It is not his birthday.
As the kernel on the server for your code, but his biggest contribution has to be his mailing list rants. Richard Matthew Stallman.
Oh, Stallman. I have far too many Stallman stories. I'm surprised he condensed Linus's history into under 25 seconds. That's impressive. He's done so much shit. To not even include the NVIDIA fuck you is disappointing, but also you can't do swears in the first 30 seconds. So I get why he didn't, because he got through that so fast. But like, you guys know the NVIDIA fuck you moment, right? Particularly funny now with how valuable NVIDIA is.
And I'm very happy to say that it's the exception rather than the rule. And I'm also happy to very publicly point out that NVIDIA has been one of the worst trouble spot we've had with hardware manufacturers. And that is really sad because NVIDIA tries to sell chips, a lot of chips into the Android market. And NVIDIA has been the single worst company we've ever dealt with. So NVIDIA, fuck you.
Yep. Particularly funny now when you think about how much like the AI stuff NVIDIA is doing relies on the Linux ecosystem to run all their shit. And NVIDIA has historically had a really rough relationship with Linux. And now they're a multi-billion-dollar company. Anyways.
An MIT graduate that got so mad at a printer, he started the open source movement. Combined with a certain Finnish kernel, we can enjoy the wonderful world of Linux distributions.
Remember, it's not Linux. It's Richard Stallman plus Linux.
But unlike Torvalds, you should avoid reading Stallman's personal writings. John Carmack.
An actual legend. The few times I've disagreed with Carmack have been business side stuff, but for the most part, him and I are like fully aligned. He's really good. If I disagree with Carmack, I'm probably the one who's wrong.
Without him, we wouldn't have the concept of 3D gaming, the FPS genre, and network multiplayer. And a certain...
I watched a great video recently. What genre is Doom? This sounds like a crazy clickbait thing. Like, obviously it's an FPS. But remember, when Doom came out, there was no such thing as an FPS. The term didn't exist because the concept didn't exist. How do you explain Doom before the term FPS exists? It was actually a really interesting deep dive in like how game genres are defined and understood. And yeah, Ahoy is a phenomenal channel too. This is a great video. Highly recommend if you're nerdy about weird game dev history stuff like I am. Check that out.
Certain game that runs on calculators, microwaves, as well as gut bacteria.
And ASCII. You forgot about the ASCII art.
And from the gut bacteria of the world, otherwise known as the nation of France, Fabrice Ballard.
What a transition. The gut bacteria of the world, otherwise known as France. Hey, they also gave us Daft Punk. Trying to think of other things France gave us, and I'm struggling.
Thanks to him, we can watch YouTube with FFmpeg, compile the Linux kernel in under 15 seconds with TCC boot, and virtualize absolutely anything with QEMU. Oh.
I don't think this dude's history is anywhere near well appreciated enough. The fact that the same person made TCC, QEMU, and FFmpeg is just unbelievable. The fact that the same person made Git and Linux is similarly absurd to the fact that the same person made QEMU, TinyCC, and FFmpeg. It's kind of nuts. Yeah, Fabrice is a legend. For those who somehow don't know Fabrice Ballard.
Thanks to him, we can watch YouTube with FFmpeg, compile the Linux kernel in under 15 seconds with TCC boot, and virtualize absolutely anything with QEMU. Oh, and it's all open source, by the way. Dennis Rich.
Yeah. Like, do you know how much money he could have made selling FFmpeg as a binary? I don't even want to think about it. That would be nuts. Like, before the MP3 encoder leaked, that was a very expensive thing people would buy, is the ability to encode an MP3 with a binary. And he just gave it all away for free. He broke down so many industries with the stuff he's built. There are multiple companies that are literally just FFmpeg wrappers. I've almost built some of them myself. Like it's insane to imagine how much shit has been built around the things he just randomly chose to give away for free. Like FFmpeg is, you know, the meme of the like XKCD. Oh, I actually have it right there. XKCD dependency meme. FFmpeg is this. FFmpeg is the little stump powering media on the internet. It's insane. It's actually insane how important FFmpeg is to keeping the entire web running.
New York has produced the godfathers of hip-hop, basketball, and modern-day software engineering. There's not much I can say about Dennis Ritchie. He invented a little-known language called C.
What's that? Is it like Erlang, but worse? Gross.
Which just happened to inspire a whole generation of programming languages. With the help of his buddy, Ken Thompson, Dennis and Ken made a little-known programming language called Unix, inspired...
I like the little star there. I meant operating system. It's crazy for me to think that Big Box, despite his workflow, wouldn't re-record a take, but I get it. I don't re-record takes unless I'm doing it live. Thankfully, I have you guys here to tell me when I misspeak. The thought of making videos like this is just so stressful to me. It's so much work. It's so much work. It might seem like making a 3-minute video off stream is easier than making an hour-long video on stream. Not true. At least not for me. I like my videos to be conversational and to know when things are wrong. I had a friend who was using my studio recently, and they were filming offline. And they re-recorded an hour-long take 4 times because they had issues the first 3 times. And that's just unbelievable to me. If I have to re-record something because it went wrong, I just delete it.
Little-known programming language called Unix, inspired a whole generation of operating systems. No big deal. Later on, Ken went on to make Go, but we couldn't have C or Unix without assembly, and we couldn't have assembly without Kathleen Booth. England is responsible for many awful things. Beans on toast, Winston Churchill, Tottenham Hotspur, but I'm willing to forgive all of that.
Those were some awful things. All fair points, Big Box.
Thanks to Kathleen Booth, the woman that primarily invented assembly and the entire concept of having an abstraction on top of machine code.
I'm going to make a weird comparison. I need you guys to hear me out. We're going to go to skateboarding for a second. Imagine you're a skateboarder. You have this little piece of wood with wheels, and the thing people are doing is just going around in circles. I'll show you what skateboarding looked like in the 80s quick. I want to find an old freestyle video. I don't want Mullen because he doesn't count. He was always just so far ahead. Ooh, a good Kevin or a Rocco. Yeah, Rocco will be a good example here. I'm going to mute so we don't get copyright struck. I'm sure the audio is not allowed. This is what skateboarding used to be. Going around in circles, showing how technically you could control the board, because it kind of came from dance. We were copying the things we had seen in like ballet with this piece of wood with wheels and seeing what we could do with it. And eventually, Ronnie Mullen found ways that you could make the board spin without you touching it directly. That became like the ollie and the kickflip and stuff like that. And if we were to go to Mullen's run at the same contest that he won, by the way, obviously he won fucking everything he did, you'll notice a few things different. First off, the amount of movement is significantly more. But if we skim a little, I'm sure he'll do an ollie or a kickflip. I think he does an impossible in this one at some point too. Yeah, an ollie airwalk. That was at the time a new concept. The idea that you could pop the board into your hand, the fact that you could pop the board at all, that you don't have to start by holding the board and pulling it up, was a new idea. The reason I bring this up has very little to do with Ronnie Mullen and more to do with a skater named Mark Gonzalez, because he was one of the first skaters to look at a handrail, like the thing that you hold onto when you're walking up and down stairs. Let me find the clip, because this video has one of the first ever handrail grinds in it, and he was one of the first to ever think, like, I can go down a rail. Here's one of them. But like the idea of, wait, this thing that Ronnie Mullen invented, this ability to jump, what if I can use that to jump on things I shouldn't be on? What if the whole world is now... Is it not in this video? I'm trying to find... There's a specific clip. Oh, here it is. It was at the end. This clip. Like the idea that you could jump onto a rail like that was a new concept at a point in time. The fact that somebody had this thing, which is the ability to jump on a skateboard, they saw this thing, which was a railing you would hold onto with your hand, and they thought, you know what? I bet I can use the skateboard in the ollie as a different way to navigate the stair set and this railing. think about how weird your brain has to be to understand that, to come to that conclusion, to realize this combination of things, this rail on the wall and this skateboard that you know you can jump a little bit with, that I could combine these and do something new with it. And then that became all of skateboarding. Like if you watch any of the big skateboard competitions nowadays, all of the best tricks, like 95+% of the best tricks involve a jump, a flip, and then landing on a rail like a handrail as invented by Mark Gonzalez in the late 80s. Mark Gonzalez is a creative street artist that just happened to pick skateboarding as his discipline instead of something like paint and graffiti. And he is incredible, so much so that I'll quickly wrap up this tangent. If you've ever heard of Spike Jonze, the director, he filmed this video. This was his breakout into media in filming and directing. He filmed and edited this because he was so fascinated with Mark Gonzalez's art brain that he wanted to document it and then share it with the world. And one of the people he shared it with was the band Sonic Youth, which had him direct a video with them. And then he became the director we all now know and love, the creator of Her and whatnot. That happened because this skater was so innovative that it broke Spike's brain. He wanted to share it with the world. Hopefully you understand why I brought this up here, because that is what happened here. There's just a certain type of brain that sees things as they are and realizes there's a whole layer, there's a foundation missing. We're too deep on these parts. We can build something on top. Just mind-boggling to think how these people's brains work, that they can see the way the world works and say, this is a layer lower than it should be. I'm going to build something on top. This rail doesn't need to exist by itself. We can use this as an obstacle. These machine level ops don't have to exist by themselves. We can build a language on top. The people who think like that are the most useful people in the fucking world, and they rarely get noticed for it because these people are very quiet about the things they do, and they need other people to showcase their brilliance to the world. And that's what we were seeing here.
England is responsible for many awful things. Beans on toast, Winston Churchill, Tottenham Hotspur, but I'm willing to forgive all of that, thanks to Kathleen Booth, the woman that primarily invented assembly and the entire concept of having an abstraction on top of machine code. While we're typing away on our soy keyboards with VS Code, she was writing code on this. But there's a certain software engineer that...
Yeah, that's just... Imagine seeing these machine codes, the things that you're working with every day, and thinking, you know what? We need to just abstract one layer above. That type of brain is unreal. And according to Eigen, hopefully I got your name right, she also pioneered the concept of async programming back in the 1940s. What the fuck? The way these people's brains work is just unbelievable. And these people need way more respect than they get.
Transcended the mortal realm. He is the Messiah. He is Terry Davis.
Oh, Terry. There's a spectrum I've wanted to draw for a while, and I don't know what axis there is, but there's an axis where on one side is John Carmack, and on the other side is Terry Davis, and Richard Stallman is much closer to Terry than he is to Carmack. And I don't know what the spectrum is, like what that axis is, but I've been trying to think of it for a while. But yeah, there is something there where this range of people, they're the same on one axis, but they're far apart on the other. And I don't know what to describe it as.
Terry Davis isn't a software engineer. He's the chosen one to spread the gospel of Temple OS, a fully fledged open source operating system, all less than 100,000 lines of code.
The Primogen is leaning towards Davis. No comment. Yeah, the mental illness with Terry was particularly rough, and I'm sad that the meme of Terry has grown past the real conversation we could have had about how heartbreaking mental illness is, and the fact that there can be really talented developers that have crippling mental illness. We could have turned Terry's legacy into a great conversation about that, but instead it's just all memes.
Written in his own language, Holy See. Are you tired of having skill issues that stop you from becoming a legendary developer? Have you tried becoming smarter?
This is going to be a brilliant plug, and I'm going to let the whole thing play because he gave us free content. It's only fair.
By trying out the sponsor of today's video, Brilliant.
Pre-watched.
Brilliant is an online learning platform with thousands of lessons across math and science that caters to learners of all levels from novices to experts. With Brilliant, you learn by doing, which is scientifically proven to be the most effective way to learn. Brilliant does this with a range of teaching methods, with interactive diagrams, quizzes, and experiments, which is way more applicable and time efficient than watching another boring lecture. Brilliant also delivers lessons in digestible chunks, so each lesson drills in a core concept and can be completed in a few minutes. Now, instead of doom scrolling on Twitter during my commute, I've been using Brilliant. I've always been fascinated by scientific theories, but I could never seem to dive deeper because I lack the fundamentals. But with the scientific thinking course on Brilliant, I've learned so much core scientific theories that now...
I actually really like that he's plugging things that aren't the dev side, because when dev channels plug Brilliant as a way to learn to code, that scares me a bunch. When dev channels plug Brilliant as a way to learn other things that they're interested in, that's much cooler to me, because like if you don't sell Brilliant as a promise of like, here's how you get a job, you pay for this service, you learn how to code, you get paid money. Instead, it's you already are making money, you're already a dev, but you're interested in these other things. This service has a monthly fee you can pay, and you have a better way to learn those other things you're excited about. That I'm actually really cool with. And I actually think this is a good Brilliant plug.
Now, reading science-based literature comes naturally to me. Don't believe me? To try everything Brilliant has to offer for free for a full 30 days, visit brilliant.org/bigboxsui. The link is in the description. You'll also get 20% off the annual subscription.
We'll have the link in our description too. Only fair.
Thank you so much for Brilliant for sponsoring this video. And thank you for your time. I am Big Box.
Great video as always. I fucking love Big Box. I hope you guys enjoyed that as much as I do, and the opportunity to randomly tangent into skateboarding. Let me know if you like me tangenting into skateboarding so I can do it more often. Until next time, peace.